our feelings about another person are not an indicator of their reliability or their authority. They can be evidence for the level of excitement we have, but not for the truth of our convictions.
And when we talk about testing or we talk about discernment, for those who are newer, are like, gosh, I really don't know what that means. Are you able to give kind of a quick definition? How does someone discern? How does someone test?
Well, discernment is a matter of determining the difference between what is true and what is false, what is spiritually healthy and what is spiritually risky. And so the question is, how do you tell, what is your truth detector? And the primary source of truth, of course, in this whole area is Scripture. So you want to have as deep of a knowledge of Scripture as you possibly can. And you might think, well, that's not that exciting. But yes, it's crucial that we inform ourselves and educate ourselves about the teachings of Jesus and the apostles and both the Old and New Testaments, because so much of what is taught in the New Apostolic Reformation will appeal to verses out of context from some remote parts of Scripture that people are less familiar with. So it's good to have a grasp of Scripture and to be daily, if possible, soaking your mind in the truth of God, and also sitting under some really good teaching. God has gifted teachers in the church to help to open the Scriptures up and help make sense of them and apply them to our lives. And so you want to find good teachers, and especially link yourself up with a healthy fellowship, a church where there is good leadership and good preaching and corporate worship and fellowship with other believers. And that's the context in which you're better able to be discerning between what is true and what is not. Jesus said in one of the warnings that Holly alluded to from Matthew 7, also chapter 24, verse 24, that these false prophets and false Christ, the apostles that are referred to by Paul, they can be very subtle and very convincing, and they can sound very biblical even. They might even quote Scripture as the devil did when he tempted Jesus in the wilderness. And Jesus warned that it's such a threat and so subtle that even the elect might be deceived by this. Right. That is something that we have to be aware of. And so we can't be too careful. So one of the first lessons is to rely on Scripture and to be part of a healthy fellowship. But another important principle here is that you don't just believe people when they tell you things. And so if a person claims to be an apostle or a prophet and begins to prophesy and demonstrate this kind of leadership, don't just take their word for it, but seek out evidence. You need to ask a couple of questions. One question is, well, how am I supposed to know that you're the real deal here? You're a genuine apostle. What are your credentials? What criteria are we to use in determining whether somebody has that kind of authority or not? And the same goes for prophets as well. So we want to put them to the test, and to do that, you have to ask them to put up the evidence that supports their claim and not just assert this. But, we have a tendency to just believe people, especially if we respect them, if they have a leadership position and a huge following, and it sounds like they believe in the authority of Scripture, and they're very nice people. They may seem compassionate and genuine and loving. And you think, well, why wouldn't I just take their word for it? But you cannot do that. Jesus' warning puts us in mind of the need to be very discerning about this and not just let those things speak for themselves. Our feelings about another person are not an indicator of their reliability or their authority. Our feelings are not evidence for most of the things that we believe. They can be evidence for the level of excitement we have, but not for the truth of our convictions. And so those are some basic ideas, some basic things that we need to do. But you also want to educate yourself about the movement. This is one reason why we've written these books, and this recent one, Counterfeit Kingdom, so that people know how language is being used and how subtly it can seem like it's true when it's not, or biblical when it is a departure from Scripture. And so you want to do what you can to get educated about the movement itself, what these people are teaching, and so forth, and expect them to come across as people who have authority and are compassionate and loving and caring and humble, and want to seem like they're mainstream or part of the charismatic movement when in fact they're not.
Those are very helpful tools. Thank you so much.